garage. Today is our third installment on our TJ lift kit series, and as you can see, we chose Rough Country as our brand of lift kit, and I'll give you a couple of the reasons why. If you remember in a previous video, and I'll link it up here, we spoke about all the different kinds of lift kits you can get and why you should have some as compared to others, and why you should really be honest with yourself for the reasons that you're putting a lift kit in. So when we really evaluated why we were putting that lift kit in, the majority of it was for the looks of our TJ, and so that we can put a little bit bigger tires, 32s and 33s, under the TJ without it hitting. You know, we chose Rough Country, and although Rough Country does somewhat have a reputation of being a rough ride, they call it Rough Country for a reason, is what they say online in all the forums. That is true for the YJs more than the TJs, because the leaf spring suspensions are a little bit rougher, and the Rough Country leaf spring suspensions are known to be a little bit rougher of a ride than the TJs that have coil springs. The main thing that drew us to the Rough Country was price. Very reasonable. $300 gives you everything you see in front of me here, shipped to your house. You can buy it direct from Rough Country on Amazon or on eBay, or you can find some other retailers on eBay, and all right around $300 to $325, which is probably about $200 cheaper than the next brand name competitor's lift kit that's pretty comparable to what we have here. This is a 2.5-inch lift kit. It comes with shocks, coil springs, and I believe there's bump stop spaces in there, but we're going to open it up and see and do an unboxing for you. Now, the Rough Country lift, let me put my old man glasses on. The Rough Country lift is going to give you 4 coil springs. Now, for us, we have old coil springs in there. We have no idea how old they are. So what we're going to do here is be able to put fresh coil springs in, which will hopefully give us a better ride than our old, saggy factory coil springs that have 103,017 years on them. So, you know, that's a bonus. But we'll open up this first box first. The small box, this should be the shocks. Now, there were 2 options on the shocks. It was the N2.0 and the regular shocks. We opted for the N2.0, which was a couple bucks more. I think it raised the price about $25, and pretty basic, nothing fancy. And that's another reason how they can keep some of the costs down over some of the other brand competitors. I don't want to say brand name because I mean Rough Country is a brand name, but they are able to keep some of their costs down because they're pretty plain. You know, gray shocks, no rubber boots on them, you know, no fancy stickers on them, and that does actually keep the cost of the shock down. Now, what you will, I don't believe there's hardware included in the shocks, so we got our 2 there, and we have our bushing pack for our front shocks. But as far as the bolts go, you're not going to get new bolts with these shocks, and a lot of the other ones, other kits are going to give you new bolts. I'll open up this end here. Alright, so you're not going to get new bolts with your shocks, and that's a way they can keep the cost down, aside from keeping it plain looking. So you'll have to reuse your old hardware. If your old hardware really stinks, run over to a local hardware store or something and pick up some new hardware. Very inexpensive, and in my opinion, the trade-off of running to the hardware store and getting new hardware far outweighs the cost of the next level kit up from a different brand. So those are our shocks, and I'll throw them back in the box here. Alright, and you get 4. They're the N2.0 shocks. Let me just check the side of the box so I'm saying it right. Alright, this is for the Jeep TJ 97 to 06 four-wheel drive N2.0 shock kit, they call it. And this is one of the components that you're going to get in your lift kit for your TJ. Now, the main part of the lift kit is going to come in this larger box that's stapled together pretty good. Alright, and what you have here are 4 coil springs. Right, again, nothing fancy, they're coil springs. They're just 2.5 inches, or supposed to be 2.5 inches taller than the stock springs. Now, these look a lot taller than my stock springs because, number 1, they're not installed, and number 2, I'll bet you that my stock coil springs are really starting to sag. And although my Jeep measures up fairly well to a comparable Jeep, and that was covered in the first video about the lift kit, and I'll put a link to that here. Although it measures pretty comparable, I'm sure that stock one that we measured too, it's got, I think, about 90,000 miles on it. So they might be starting to sag as well too. Coil springs just don't seem to hold up like the Leafs did in those olden days, I should say. But years ago, when everything was leaf spring, it seemed like the leaf spring units were a lot better. Okay, what do we have here? In this box, we have a Rough Country decal. So they threw a decal in. I guess the only thing that you don't get is bump stops. I think you got bump stops in them. Alright, so you do not get a bump stop increase, which I'm a little disappointed in. I thought it was included in the kit. I guess I read it wrong. Again, that's doing your homework. It does come with instructions. Generally speaking, from my experience, the Rough Country instructions weren't always the greatest. But that's it. You got your rear springs, are of course a little bit shorter. That's just the way they are, the nature of the spring, the way it's installed, and the way it's set up. But again, I know that you guys that are familiar with TJs, the rear stock spring in a TJ is real short. So hopefully this gives us about the 2.5 inches we're looking for. We're really not looking for more than 2.5 inches, and the reason being there is that's just going to put us too high. We want to get it right around 2.5 so we can fit those 33s, the 32s that we have now, and the 33s that we will eventually replace them when they wear out, without hitting, and have it look halfway decent, because for the most part this is going to be driven on the street, not an off-road vehicle, and that's about it in the box. So I'm pretty actually pretty let down that there were no bump stop extensions in the box. I was under the impression that there were, and that's why we do these unboxings, so that you don't get the same surprises I get when we unbox something and this stuff ain't there. So now I know that I'm going to have to make a run to the hardware store to get some hardware, because I do like to change that hardware. That's just my personal preference. You can reuse those old bolts if they come out real easy and they don't get all screwed up. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the TJ and I'm going to get it into position in the driveway where I'm going to leave it while we're doing the lift kit install. And I am going to go over and I am going to use some penetrating oil, whatever brand you like, and I'm going to soak down the bolts that we will be taking off. So the upper shock bolts, the lower shock bolts, your sway bar link ends you're going to have to remove so that you can get a little bit more movement in your front and rear axles to get the coil springs out. Those are the bolts that you're going to be taking off when you install the lift kit. So I'm going to spray them down a day in advance, so that hopefully I'm not wrestling with them as much. Now, when tomorrow comes and we start installing this lift kit, if after I sprayed them down overnight, I'm still having a problem with them, I'm going to go right to heat and heat them up, and we'll show you step-by-step how we do it. We're going to do the front end first, then we're going to do the rear end, and hopefully the lift kit goes in nice and smooth. So that's our unboxing. This is the Rough Country, let me read it again here. This is the Rough Country 2.5 inch suspension lift kit with the N 2.0 shocks, and about $325 right around there. I think I bought this one on eBay. I believe it was $325 shipped because of the bump up in the shocks, and I think it's a deal. Like I said, I wish I would have got those bump stops. But that's it for today's video. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, please give us that thumbs up. And if you like what we're doing here at Axel's Garage, please subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.